Continuing where I left off, Chapter 25. Prince Andrei was to leave the following evening. The old prince made no change in his routine, but retired to his own room after dinner as usual. The little princess was with her sister-in-law. Prince Andrei, in a traveling coat without epaulets, had been packing with his valet in the rooms that were reserved for his use. After inspecting the carriage and seeing the trunks put in, he ordered the horses to be harnessed. Only those things he always kept with him remained in the room: a money box, a large silver bottle case, 2 Turkish pistols, and a saber, a present from his father, who had brought it from the siege of Ochakov. All this traveling equipment of Prince Andrei's was in perfect order, new, clean, and in cloth covers carefully tied with tapes. When setting out on a journey or changing their mode of life, men capable of reflection are apt to be in a serious frame of mind. At such moments, one generally reviews the past and makes plans for the future. Prince Andrei's face looked very pensive and tender. With his hands clasped behind his back, he rapidly paced the room, looking straight before him and thoughtfully shaking his head. Whether he had qualms about going to war or felt sad at leaving his wife, perhaps both, he evidently did not wish to be seen in this mood, for when he heard footsteps in the passage, he made haste to unclasp his hands and stand at the table as if tying the cover of his money box, assuming his usual calm, impenetrable expression. It was the heavy tread of Princess Marya that he heard. "They told me you had given orders to harness the horses," she said breathlessly. She had evidently been running, "and I did so want to have a talk with you alone. God knows how long we shall be parted this time. You're not angry with me for coming? You're very much changed, Andreyasha," she added, as if to explain her question. She smiled as she called him Andreyasha. It was obviously strange to her to think that this stern, handsome man should be that same Andreyasha who, as a thin, mischievous little boy, had been the companion of her childhood. "And where is Lisa?" he asked, having answered her question with only a smile. "She was so tired that she fell asleep on the sofa in my room. Oh, Andrei, what a treasure of a wife you have," she said, sitting down on the sofa facing her brother. "She is an absolute child, a winsome, married child. I have grown so fond of her." Prince Andrei was silent, but the princess noticed the ironical, disdainful expression that came over her face. One must be indulgent of little weaknesses. Who is without them, Andrei? Don't forget that she was reared and educated in society, and her situation now is not a very rosy one. We should always put ourselves in the other person's position. Tout comprende, zes tout pardonana. Think what it must be for her, poor thing, after the life she has been used to be parted from her husband and left alone in the country, and in her condition. It's very hard." Prince Andrei looked at his sister and smiled as we smile at those we think we thoroughly understand. You live in the country and don't find the life so terrible, he said. That's another matter. Why speak of me? I want no other life, and indeed could not want no other, since I know none. But think, Andre, for a young society woman to be buried in the country during the best years of her life, and all alone, because Papa's always busy, and you know me, you know what scant resources I have for companionship, with a woman accustomed to the best society. There is only Mademoiselle Borin. I don't like your Mademoiselle Borin at all, said Prince Andrei. Oh, don't say that. She is very nice, and so kind, and what's more important, she's to be pitied. She has no one. No one. To tell you the truth, I don't really need her. She's even a hindrance to me. As you know, I've always been a solitary creature, and I'm becoming more so all the time. I like being alone. Mon Pierre likes her very much. She and Mikhail Avedinch are the two people to whom he is always friendly and kind, because he has been a benefactor to both of them. As Sterne says, we love people not so much for the good they have done us as for the good we have done them. Mon Pierre took her in like a homeless child. She is very good-natured, and Mon Pierre likes her way of reading aloud. She reads to him in the evenings, and she reads beautifully. Frankly speaking, Moya, I expect Father's character makes things rather trying for you at times, doesn't it? Asked Prince Andrei unexpectedly. Princess Maya was first amazed, and then aghast at this question. Trying? For me? Trying for me? She exclaimed. He was always harsh, but now it seems to me he's becoming very difficult. Prince, said Prince Andrei, apparently for the purpose either of puzzling or of testing his sister by speaking of their father with such levity. You are good in every way, Andre, but you have a kind of pride of intellect, said the princess, following her own train of thought rather than the conversation. And that is a great sin. How can one judge father? And even if one could, what feeling, other than one of veneration, can a man such as Mon Pierre evoke? And am I so contented, so happy with him? I only wish you were all as happy as I am. Her brother shook his head incredulously. The only thing that is hard for me, I'll tell you the truth, Andre, is father's attitude to religion. I can understand how a man of such tremendous intelligence can fail to see what is as clear as day, and can fall into such error. This is the one thing that makes me unhappy. But even in this I have recently seen a shade of improvement. His scoffing has been less caustic of late, and he did receive a certain monk and had a long talk with him. Well, my dear, I'm afraid you and your monk are wasting your powder, said Prince Andrei in a mocking yet affectionate tone. En mon ami, I can only pray to God and hope he will hear me, Andrei, she said timidly after a moment's silence. I have a great favor to ask of you. What is it, my dear? Promise me you won't refuse. It will give you no trouble, and is in no way unworthy of you. Only it will be a comfort to me. Promise, Andrusha, she said, thrusting her hand into her reticule, but hesitating to take out what she was holding inside it, as if whatever she held was the object of her request, and only and could only be shown after the request had been granted. She stood looking shyly at her brother with imploring eyes. Even if it were a great deal of trouble, replied Prince Andrei, as if surmising what she had in mind. Think what you please. I know you are just like mon Pierre. Think what you please, but do it for my sake. Do, please. Father's father, our grandfather, wore it in every war he was in. She still did not take out what she was holding in her reticule. So you promise? Of course. What is it? Andrei, I bless you with this holy image, and you must promise me you will never take it off. Do you promise? If it doesn't weigh a ton and won't break my neck. To please you, said Prince Andrei, but instantly noticing the pained expression his jest had brought to his sister's face, he repented. I'll be glad to. Really, dear, really glad, he added. Against your will, he will save you and have mercy on you. He will bring you to himself, for in him alone is truth and peace, she said, her voice trembling with emotion as she solemnly held out in both hands before her brother a small antique oval image of the Savior, the dark face in a silver setting on a delicately wrought silver chain. She crossed herself, kissed the image, and gave it to Andrei. Please, Andrei, for my sake. Her large, timid eyes shone with a gentle light. Those eyes lit up her thin, pallid face and made it beautiful. Her brother was about to take the image, but she stopped him. Andrei understood, crossed himself, and kissed the image. His face was both tender, for he was touched, and at the same time ironical. Merci, mon ami. She kissed him on the forehead and sat down on the sofa again. They went silent for a while. As I was saying, Andrei, be kind and magnanimous, as you always used to be. Don't judge Lisa harshly, she began. She is so sweet, so good, and her position is a very difficult one just now. I don't think I have said anything to you, Masha, that was in any way critical of my wife, or that expressed dissatisfaction with her. What makes you say all this to me? Red patches appeared on Princess Maria's face, and she remained silent as if she felt guilty. I have said nothing to you, but someone else has been talking to you, and that makes me sad, he said. The red blotches deepened on Princess Maria's forehead, cheeks, and neck. She wanted to speak, but could not utter a word. Her brother had guessed right. The little princess had cried after dinner, had talked about her forebodings about her confinement, how she dreaded it, and about her father-in-law and husband. After crying, she had fallen asleep. Prince Andrei felt sorry for his sister. Understand one thing, Masha. I cannot reproach my wife with anything. I never have and never shall reproach her, nor can I reproach myself for anything in regard to her, and this will always be so, in whatever circumstances I may be. But if you want to know the truth, if you want to know whether I am happy, no. Is she happy? No. And why is this? I do not know. Having said this, he went to his sister, leaned down, and kissed her on the forehead. Her fine eyes lit up with an extraordinary glow of sensibility and kindness. But he was looking not at his sister, but over ahead toward the darkness of the open door. Let us go to her. I must say goodbye. Or you go alone and wake her up. I'll come presently. Petrushka, he called to his valet. Come here. Take these things away. Put this on the seat, this on the right side. Princess Maria got up and walked to the door, then stopped and said, Andrea, if you have faith, you would have asked God to give you the love you do not feel, and your prayer would have been granted. Yes, that may be, said Prince Andrei. Go, Masha. I'll come in a moment. On his way to his sister's room, in the gallery connecting the two wings, Prince Andrea encountered Mademoiselle Borin, smiling sweetly. It was the third time that day that she had met him in secluded passages, always with that artless, ecstatic smile. "Oh, I thought you were in your room," she said, for some reason blushing and lowering her eyes. Prince Andrei gazed at her sternly. Suddenly, a look of exasperation came over his face. Without speaking or looking at her eyes, he stared at her forehead and her hair with such disdain that the Frenchwoman blushed and went away without a word. When he reached his sister's room, his wife was already awake, and the babble of her gay little voice could be heard through the open door. She spoke, as usual, in French, and as if after long restraint she wanted to make up for lost time. "No, but imagine old Countess Zabova with false curls and a mouthful of false teeth, as if she were trying to defy time. Ha ha ha, Maya." Prince Andrei had already heard his wife make exactly the same remark about Countess Zabova, and with the same laugh, some 5 times in the company of others. He quietly entered the room. The little princess, plump and rosy, was sitting in an easy chair, with her work in her hands, talking without pause, repeating the self-same reminiscences, even the same phrases. Prince Andrei went up to her, stroked her hair, and asked if she felt rested after the journey. She answered him, and went on with her chatter. A carriage with 6 horses was standing at the porch. It was an autumn night, so dark that the coachman could not see the carriage shafts. Servants with lanterns bustled about the porch. Lights burned in the tall windows of the huge house. The manor serfs had crowded into the entrance hall to say goodbye to the prince. In the reception room, the members of the household stood waiting. Mikhail Ivanovich, Mademoiselle Bourienne, Princess Marya, and the little princess. The old prince wanted to say goodbye to his son alone and had summoned him to his study. All were there waiting for them to come out. When Prince Andrei entered the study, his father, wearing his old-age spectacles and the white dressing gown in which he received no one but his son, sat at the table writing. He looked up. "Going," and he went on writing. "I've come to say goodbye. Kiss me here," he indicated his cheeks. "Thanks, thanks." "What are you thanking me for?" "For not dilly-dallying, for not being tied to a woman's apron strings. Duty before everything. Thanks, thanks." And he continued writing, his pen scratching and spluttering. "If you have anything to say, say it. I can do 2 things at once," he added. "About my wife. I feel ashamed to leave her on your hands the way things are. Why talk nonsense? Say what you want." "When it comes time for her to be confined," said the Moscow for an account sure, "have him here." The old prince stopped writing and fixed his stern eyes on his son as though not understanding. "I know that no one can help if nature doesn't do her work," said Prince Andrei, visibly confused. "I grant that out of 1,000,000 cases only one goes wrong, but it's her whim and mine. They've been telling her things. She had a dream and she's frightened." Muttered the old prince to himself, finishing what he was writing. "I'll do it." He signed his name with a flourish and suddenly turned his son and began to laugh. "A bad business, hey?" "What is bad, father?" "The wife," said the old prince curtly and significantly. "I don't understand," said Prince Andrei. "But it can't be helped, my boy," said the old prince. "They're all alike that, and there's no getting unmarried now. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone, but you know it yourself." He seized his son's hand in his bony little fingers and shook it, looking straight into his face with eyes so keen that it seemed they could see through a man, and once more laugh his cold laugh. The son sighed, and his sigh was an acknowledgment that his father understood him. The old man folded and sealed the letter, snatching up and flinging down the wax, the seal, and the paper with his accustomed rapidity. "What can you do? She's a beauty. I will take care of everything. Set your mind at rest," he said in staccato phrases as he sealed the letter. Andres said nothing. It was both pleasant and painful to him to realize that his father understood him. The old man stood up and handed the letter to his son. "Come," he said, "don't worry about your wife. What can be done shall be done. Now listen. Give this letter to Mikhail Lavanovich. I have written him that he should make use of you in the right places, and not keep you long as an adjutant, an odious position. Tell him I remembered him and liked him. Write and tell me how he receives you. If he's all right, serve him. Nikolai Andreevich Banovsky's son doesn't have to serve anyone out of kindness. Now come here." He spoke so rapidly that he did not finish half his words, but his son was accustomed to this and understood him. He led him to a desk, raised the lid, opened a drawer, and took out an exercise book filled with his large, bold, closely written script. "I shall probably die before you. Remember, these are my memoirs, to be given to the Emperor after my death. Now, here's a Lombard house bond and a letter. A prize for the man who writes a history of Sir Rover's wars. Send it to the Academy. Here are a few notes I made for you to read when I'm gone. You'll find them useful." Andrei did not say to his father that he undoubtedly would live a long time yet. He felt there was no need to say it. "I will do it all, father," he said. "Well now, goodbye." He gave his son his hand to kiss and embrace him. "Remember one thing, Prince Andrei. If you are killed, it will be a grief to me in my old age," he broke off abruptly. Then suddenly, in a querulous voice, went on, "But if I learn that you have not conducted yourself like the son of Nikolai Balkonsky, I shall be ashamed," he shrilled. "You need not have said that to me, father," the son responded with a smile. The old man was silent. "I also wanted to ask you," continued Prince Andrei, "if I am killed, and if I have a son, don't let him be taken away from you. As I said yesterday, let him be raised with you, please." "Not let your wife have him?" asked the old man and laughed. They stood facing each other in silence. The old man's sharp eyes were fixed on his son. A quiver passed over the lower part of his face. "We've said goodbye. Go," he said suddenly. "Go," he shouted in a loud, angry voice, opening the study door. "What is it? What happened?" both princes exclaimed on seeing Prince Andrei and catching a momentary glimpse of the figure of the old man without his wig, wearing his spectacles and his white dressing gown, and shouting in a wrathful voice. Prince Andrei sighed and made no reply. "Well," he said, turning to his wife, and this "well" sounded as cold and derisive as if he had said, "Well, let's have your little performance." "Andrei, already?" said the little princess, turning pale and looking at her husband in dismay. He embraced her. She uttered a shriek and fell unconscious on his shoulder. He cautiously withdrew the shoulder on which she leaned locked into her face, and with great care placed her in an easy chair. "Adieu, Mary," he said in a gentle voice to his sister, taking her by the hand and kissing her. Then, with rapid steps, he left the room. The little princess lay back in the chair, and Mademoiselle Bernard shafted her temples. Princess Maya, supporting her sister-in-law, her beautiful eyes full of tears, continued to look at the door through which Prince Andrei had gone. She made the sign of the cross in his direction. From the study, like pistol shots, came the repeated sound of the old prince furiously blowing his nose. Prince Andrei had hardly gone when the study door was flung open, and the austere figure of the old man in his white dressing gown appeared. "He's gone? Good," he said, with a wrathful look at the unconscious little princess, shook his head in disapproval, and slammed the door. I'm going to leave it off there. Thank you so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Subscribe. Leave a comment below would be awesome. Or just keep watching. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.